right, so we've got some Chicago Bears news that's kind of worked its way out of the ether. Obviously, the Bears, the way the season has gone, isn't as well as a lot of people have hoped, but there clearly is a path forward to this team. And of course, the main option for that path is the Bears having the number one overall pick, courtesy of the Carolina Panthers. And we're starting to see some interesting reports about teams potentially wanting to move up with the Bears to trade up to the Bears spot, ideally the number one selection. That's what it looks like it's going to be. And we've got a great report highlighting a rumor that's percolating around the NFL that I think is sending an interesting message. Let's pull a report from SIA.com and we'll go into it on the other side. All right, this is according to ESPN's Dan Graziano. There's some thought around the league that the Washington Commanders, is very interested in Caleb Williams, a Washington, D.C. native who's a strong favorite to be picked first overall. The Commanders, with a break here or there over the next couple of weeks, could find themselves in a position to either draft Williams or trade up a spot or two to get him. All right, so there's a couple things to understand about these rumors and anything that comes out in this, right? Washington would, if they were interested in this, which they obviously are, they need a quarterback, they would never leak that. They would never come out and kind of just talk to reporters behind the scenes, say, hey, ideally in the offseason, we want to trade up to the number one overall pick and get Caleb Williams. They probably are. They just would never say it. That would weaken their hand. You know where this comes from? The Chicago Bears. This is Ryan Poles. At least I believe it is. I don't have any evidence, but I think this is coming from the Bears front office. And here's why. The way the big media works, especially with ESPN, NFL Network, all these insiders and reports, when they have anonymous sources, they don't know who it's coming from in terms of us when they report it. The reporters do. They sit there and they're talking to Ryan Poles, I believe in this case, and Poles is saying, listen, you're going to call me anonymous and say that the Washington Commanders are interested in moving up for the trade. And when we do make the trade, I'll give you the news first, right? That's how it works. That's how Adam Schefter over at ESPN has made his career. He develops relationships, does work for GMs for them in situations like this. And in return, he gets the breaking news story. That's how the world of media reporting, instant rapid reaction works in the big space with the big networks. So again, let's think about this. Washington would never come out and leak this publicly. This has to be coming from Ryan Poles. And here's the genius of it. Last week, and we did a video about this, Ryan Poles was reportedly discussing not really being too interested in Justin Fields being the long-term option. So again, I think this is a sign of a genius move by Ryan Poles. Last week, there were reports that he wasn't so interested in Fields. We talked about it at the time. Now we've got a report like this. To me, that's an indication that he's trying to leak that there's a lot of interest for the number one overall pick. That would be a sign that the Bears like Justin Fields as their long-term solution. Here's the beauty of this. Right now, if you're the Chicago Bears, you want the rest of the NFL to have no idea what you're doing with your draft picks. That gives you a lot of opportunity to make a kind of game-changing trade. He made one last offseason. I think he's set up for an even bigger one this offseason. And right now, according to these reports, it looks like the Bears are doing a great job just with that. Myles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this news. I know it's kind of an interesting story as we're working way through the end of the regular season. But Bears fans, we want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you think the Bears should do with the number one overall selection? Should they trade it for a haul? Should they draft Caleb Williams? Maybe something else? Give us your thoughts on the number one overall pick, which it seems like they're going to get, in the comment section below. But Myles, give me your thoughts on this report and look how everything is shaping up for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, Nick, I think what you're saying is the smart way to go about all of this, because at the end of the day, we aren't Ryan Poles. We don't personally know Ryan Poles, so we don't know what he is thinking. But you can deduce from context clues and things are going around. The Bears are seeming like they're putting an air of mystique around what they're going to do. First, they leak the news. Hey, maybe Justin Fields isn't a long-term answer. Maybe he's not. Maybe he is. We don't know that right now. But to compile with that now, supposedly, I think it's very likely they leak another potential story saying, hey, the Commanders are looking at trading up to the Bears for that first pick. Now there's interest in both the Bears trading Fields and also the Bears trading the first round pick. Maybe Poles is seeing what brings the best offer. Maybe if he gets a haul for Justin Fields, he's like, well, not going to be quite as good as the Fields is going to be much better than what I could get for this first round pick. And I get the number one quarterback as well. That's going to be the route I go. Maybe he gets a super haul like they did last year for the first overall pick. And he says, hey, I'm going to be able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and a top tier offensive lineman and a couple other pieces out of this. I think Justin Fields, if we give him those, that's going to be what puts him over the edge. That's the route I'm going to go. So the fact that Ryan Poles is potentially leaving his options open, putting that air of mystique around what they do, I think that it leads them into the best decision making process where they can weigh both sides. Like, say, hey, Justin Fields is available, but also this first round pick is available. Whatever gives us the best option, that's where we're going to go. And I know it makes sense, but not everyone does it that way. Not everyone thinks that way. Some people just think, I think like Jaguars. Jaguars really snap decision. They fall in love with the guy, and a guy like Trayvon Walker for that first overall pick. They get too headstrong in there, and they're like, hey, this is a guy we want to pick. And I think there's like 3 or 4 other guys that were drafted after him that would have been much better in that position. Not saying he won't be an okay player. He's not 1-1 material. So I think the Bears, Ryan Poles, this is a genius move. I think he's made a lot of really smart moves, and I think this is showing that the Bears are headed in the right direction.
And again, it kind of proves me wrong because when we talked about it last week in the reports that, the way they were evaluating Fields was an indication that they weren't interested in him long term. I thought, okay, it's a clear sign. They're going to evaluate the offseason going different at the quarterback position. Maybe they're trying to trade Fields. But now you have this report leaking. And again, I want to reiterate it. There is no way that the Washington Commanders would leak this. The only team that benefits from this leak report is the Chicago Bears. So if you kind of follow the money, use that concept there, the Bears are the team that leaked this report. And again, it could be real, it could be fake. And that's the beauty of what Ryan Poles is doing. And that's what he did last offseason as well. And obviously the DJ Moore trade with the Carolina Panthers and everything that's come with that has been absolutely outstanding. And he is setting to do it up again. And I think this is the real strength of the Chicago Bears going forward. And it just, to me, indicates that I think the Bears, the struggles they've had the past few years, eventually it'll turn around and they'll be very good very quickly. One of the things to talk about in the NFL this year is, of course, the emergence of the Miami Dolphins and the Detroit Lions. People love talking about Mike McDaniel and Dan Campbell, and rightly so. But people don't talk about the quality GM work done in Detroit and Miami that helped build those rosters into the high talented football teams that they are. Poles is following that exact same track. He needs now, I believe, to find his McDaniel, his Dan Campbell to replace Eberflus. Maybe Eberflus can be the guy. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think so. But in terms of how he is building the roster and setting up for long-term success, this is really, really good GM work by the Chicago Bears. And it really starts with the front office. Unless you get lucky and you get a Joe Burrow, you get a Patrick Mahomes, right? You get a Tom Brady, you get one of these guys to fall into your lap. You have to build a deep and talented roster like the San Francisco 49ers, like the Baltimore Ravens. That's what the Bears are doing in Chicago. And I think these kind of sneaky good moves, trying to setting the tone for a massive trade, should give the Bears much more ammunition going into the next season and beyond. And I'm excited for the future of the Chicago franchise. I know it's been kind of a slog these past couple of years, but I don't think it'll be too long before these Bears football teams are heading back to the postseason and winning NFC North titles again.